1975 was a grim time for Korean rock music. All the big groups were either disbanded, arrested, or were turning into boring pop acts. Even after South Korea gained its independence from Japan in 1945, there was still civil unrest within the country. The nation was extremely poor, even poorer than their neighbors to the north, and although President Park Chung-hee and his government promised a brighter future, he had been in office for well over a decade at that point and was running the country like a dictatorship. Psychedelic bands had to be careful with what music they put out in fear of their songs being banned by the government. This all culminated in 1975 when big artists were arrested during what is now referred to as the marijuana incident. It didn't matter if these artists were truly on drugs at the time, as they all got tortured and imprisoned quite horribly. Needless to say, it was a dark time for music in Korea. On the other side of the world, a new movement was starting up. Bands like the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, and the Clash gave a new look to rock. It was a new generation of bands that were sick and tired of pretentious arena rock that had taken over music. Their songs were loud, short, rough, and simple, but were very effective. With punk's newfound popularity, it started groups from Europe to Australia. However, not all countries had the fortune of having such free speech. With the marijuana incident happening only a few years prior, there was no place for a punk band in Korea. However, one band not only managed to pull this off, but became one of the most popular rock bands from the country. Three brothers, Kim Chang-wan on guitar, Kim Chang-hun on bass, and Kim Chang-ik on drums, always used to play music together when they were kids. They would write their own songs with the cheap instruments they had at the time. Meanwhile, at Seoul University, there was a band called the Sand Pebbles that started around 1970. Every year, all the band members would be replaced with new students, but would keep the same name. It was during 1975 when the second oldest brother, Kim Chang-hun, joined the Sand Pebbles on bass. A year later in 1976, he gave the song What Will Happen to Me to the new students before leaving the band. This sixth incarnation of the Sand Pebbles would perform this song for the first ever College Song Festival in 1976, where university students would perform a song for a chance to win first place. Also in this contest were the three brothers Kim Chang-wan, Kim Chang-hun, and Kim Chang-ik, playing their song Please Open the Door as the band Woo-ee. The band and their song Please Open the Door won first place, whilst the Sand Pebbles won second place. However, due to the fact that the oldest brother Kim Chang-wan was graduating that year, and that being against the contest's rules, the band was disqualified and Sand Pebbles won first place. The band members of Woo-ee were getting to the point where they had to enter society as adults and get proper jobs. As a last-ditch effort, they gave a demo tape of theirs to Sorabol Records. The band was fully expecting to pay whatever the price was to record an album. However, the record label was happy to provide a recording space for free. During this time, if you wanted to release music, it first had to go through an approval process. Most, if not all, the songs on their first album were rejected due to the lyrics being too depressing. Band members had to rewrite all their songs so they could be released to the public. This resulted in all of their songs having a very hard rock sound, while the lyrics had a somewhat childlike wonder to its content. The band changed their name to Sanolim and released their first album on the 15th of December 1977. Despite the album's rough-sounding production and sound, it sold an estimated amount of 400,000 copies, turning the newly released album into an instant classic. If you talk to any fans of Sanolim, they'll most likely tell you that the first three albums are the most essential. They have the most hits, they're the most experimental, and they have contributions from all three brothers. As years went by, the younger brothers had to serve mandatory military services and get proper jobs to sustain their families. Kim Chang-won, the oldest brother, was and still is the most musically active within the family. Even Sanulim albums number 6, 10, 11, and 12 do not have performances by the other brothers in it. But enough of that boring talk, where's the punk music? While the older brother Kim Chang-won mostly wrote a lot of love songs, the second oldest brother Kim Chang-hun was the most punk of the group, really shining on their third album, possibly his most popular song, My Heart is a Wasteland, not only sounds punk, but is also lyrically very different to any kind of love song.
나의 마음은 황무지 차가운 바람만 불고 불안폭이 나지 않는 그런 황무지였어요. 그대가 읽어놓은 이 마음 온갖 꽃들이 만발하고 따뜻한 바람이 부는 기름진 땅이 되었죠.
On their next album, Kim Chang-hun shows off his impressive vocal range with Express Chain, the right-hand side. Impressive vocal work on Summer Shower featured on their 9th album.
한여름의 길을 걷다가 소낙비 만났네. 우불쭈불하다가 흩어져 버렸네. 구름은 몰래 밀려왔고 난 그걸 몰랐네. 나올 때 하늘이 맑았어. 우산을 생각지도 못했네.
Finally, on their last album, he brings back the grouchy voice first heard on My Heart is a Wasteland on tracks like I Don't Know Why I'm Here,
내가 왜 여기 있는지 몰라. 지구한 기퉁이에
Day Out,
이대로는 안 돼. 바꿔야지. 화장해야지.
and A Favor.
불안한 건 내줘. 나 보기 말라. 이것 좀 들어줘. 너무 힘겨워.
Although Kim Chang-hun wrote the most punk-sounding songs for the band, there are still other tracks that can fit the genre, like Can't Remember Now on their 8th album,
지금은 다 생각나질 않네. 당신을 처음 봤을 때가 생각나질 않네. 낯설은 시선들이 묽어진 모래 와닿았죠.
and Bedwetter on their 13th album. It took another 2 decades after Sanulim debuted for punk music to become mainstream in South Korea. In that time, the country had essentially stopped being a dictatorship, and musicians could more freely release music. Punk is often forgotten when talking about Korean music history, and even when it is talked about, the bands mentioned are usually the 90s pop punk groups like Crying Nut and No Brain. However, even these groups have a sort of childlike wonder to their lyrics. Perhaps their songs were influenced by the Korean punk pioneers Sanulim. Hey gang, thanks for watching. I wanted to make this video because I'm so invested in Korean rock and I'm invested in punk, classic punk as well. So it was just sort of a perfect match made in heaven. Oh yeah, also I forgot to add, if you enjoy Sanulim or if you enjoyed the things I played for you in this video, you can check them out on Spotify. They're under the name Sanulim, SANULLIM, and you could buy their records. They recently did a reissue on Gurasin Records, the first 3 albums and a compilation album. But I think those are sold out now. But you can get them for a little bit more pricey, expensive, through the Korean reissues they're doing right now. So you can check them out if you want to. This channel, if you're wondering where this came from, was originally a short-lived podcast channel for Korean rock albums. It's gone now. That was terrible. I never want to talk about it again. But I'm going to do more video essays on topics I enjoy. And it's not just going to be Korean rock music. It's going to be, obviously it's going to be Korean rock music, but it's also going to have like classic punk or obscure bands that you probably never heard of. Stuff like that. Just sort of my interests, basically. So if you want more of that, please do subscribe. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. Oh, and also, I want to keep this video making experience as fun as possible. So I'm not gonna, have a upload schedule. I'm just gonna upload whenever I feel like, cause it's just for fun, and I don't want this to be work. I have previous experience where YouTube videos turned into work, and it was, needless to say, it was painful. So I don't want to relive that. So fun times. I don't know how to end this. Goodbye.